So coming off my last video, I'm still suffering from a little bit of an AI hangover. So I thought today we'd go back to basics, and I've come out into the Peak District to try and find a waterfall that I've not previously visited. Originally, for this walk, I was going to go to Three Shies Heads. Now that's a waterfall I've photographed many times, but I've not been for a while, so I thought it'd be a nice change just to go back to an old location. But when I was looking at the map trying to plan a bit of a hike, I noticed that there was a waterfall that I've not yet visited. I've tried to photograph it before but couldn't get there due to weather conditions. So today we'll try and discover that particular fall. So a very narrow road to start off this very short walk. Actually, I think it's going to be total distance under a mile round trip. We're going to head across this field now, but I think by the time I get back to the car it's going to feel like I've covered much more than a mile looking at this terrain. How cool is this ruined building? Not really the right conditions to be photographing this location, but it looks quite cool nonetheless. I've got the ruined building there. I've got a tree next to it with a bit of leafage on that tree. I think there could be a nice image here, although the style and the fence running down the side does look a little bit ugly. At the beginning of this walk I mentioned that I'm currently having a little bit of an AI hangover following my last video, so I thought when I come out today I'd take a back to basics approach. I'm not going to be using my phone to take any images today. I am however going to be using a dedicated camera system. That does not mean I'm carrying expensive gear with me, and it certainly does not mean I've got half of Amazon on my back in photography accessories either. This is the gear I'm using today. I've got my Osmo Pocket 2, which I'm currently filming on. It's not the best camera by any stretch of the imagination, but it does the job when it comes to YouTube, and I really do quite like the sound that the Creator Bundle creates with this video. For still images I'm going to be using a Fujifilm X-T1 with an XF 18-55 lens, I think it is. Very basic setup this. The camera body itself a few months back cost me around £200 off MPB, and the lens that recently arrived cost me around £100 because it was listed on MPB as faulty. So that's a £300 dedicated camera setup there, much cheaper than most mobile phones on the market. Filters I'm using are going to be basically dirt cheap ones as well. I've got the £8 Amazon circular polarizer, and I've also got a 3-stop and 6-stop with me. But as you can see by this layout here, it's a very basic setup. Takes next to no room in my bag as I'm walking around this beautiful scenery. So I've just crossed a little bit of farmland to loop round on this hike, and we're down into the valley now, the area I suspect this waterfall is going to be, and this is an absolutely beautiful scene, made so much better by the sunlight we're having today. We've got the water just trickling through the woodland here, and a pine woodland at that. Beautiful little location. I might backtrack here in a short while and see if I can get a couple of images of these mini cascades, but for now I want to see if I can find this waterfall. Have to say the footpaths around here are very clearly marked. I'm really liking the style of the signs that they use here. Really cool. So the water is clearly falling over this edge here. Let's have a look what we've got here. Oh, that's quite nice actually. I have no idea how I'm going to get down to the bottom of there, but that's a nice little mini fall. I don't know if it's a waterfall that's marked on the map. I suspect it might be. So I'm going to have a little walk further downstream just to check, and I'm certainly going to return to this. Don't think I'm going to be able to get down to the bottom of there though. It's quite steep embankments, and just looking at the scene in more detail, you can see along the banks there we've got netting that's holding the rocks in. That's not going to make for a pretty image, but it's still an absolutely beautiful location nonetheless. Just had a quick nosy downstream. I'm not really seeing anything that catches my attention, so I've come up back to this waterfall. I'm going to see if I can try and get a decent shot of this fall. I'm going to have to go from a high angle here because I can't get down to the bottom. I don't really like taking waterfalls from a high angle, but I'm going to try and make it work. So I've just come down this path a little bit here. I'm right on the edge of this mini embankment. You might be able to see the scale on camera, to try and get the only composition that I feel is going to work from this location. It's a complex shot, this, for a number of reasons. We've got all this dead grass around, and depending on your angle, this dead grass could really make an image look messy. We've also got these messy bushes which are waiting to come into leaf, and I think this angle here is the only real clean view of the waterfall. I'm in a portrait orientation as well to cut out those rocks in the netting there. I don't know what the technical term is for those blocks, but I really don't want to get those into the shot because they just look horrible and they're a nightmare to remove in post-production. So the edge of my composition is going to be this log going down the edge here. And there's also a second log just within the waterfall which should look really nice with the long exposure that I'm planning here. Really, I'm trying to focus on the water element of this shot, and especially the constant at the bottom between the foam and the rocks at the bottom of the fall there. Settings wise, I've got a polarizer on the front to help me remove the glare, although it's not really working with the current angle of the sun, I've got to be honest. And I've also got a 3-stop on the front to help extend my shutter speed. I'm currently looking at about half a second, which seems to work quite well for this scene, as I'm still managing to pull out detail from the flow of the water. I'm going to be using a 10-second timer to take this shot with rather than the 3 second, because, I don't know if you can tell, I'm on wobbly ground here. This is not stable ground at all. So I just want to give the camera a little bit longer to settle before it takes a shot. So continuing along my walk now and checking the OS map, I'm not convinced that waterfall that I've just photographed is a waterfall that I've come to find today. As I'm walking along this path now, to the right of me, or camera left, I can hear a little bit of cascading water, but I can't get down or get to any type of viewing point to see where it's coming from. The thing that's confusing me a lot in finding this particular waterfall is the OS map. In this particular area, all the icons are very crowded and it's really difficult to pinpoint the exact location of the waterfall that's marked on the map. Normally with a waterfall that's marked on an OS map, you'll see the words waterfall and there'll be a black line as it crosses the stream to mark the position of that waterfall. But in this case, I'm struggling to see where that black line is. I'm going to assume for now that I've photographed the waterfall, but if you know different, if you know this area, please do comment below and I'd be more than happy to return and give this one another go. I mentioned at the start of this video that this walk was a very short one, and I've got a feeling the video is going to be very short as well, but I'm happy that I've achieved what I set out to do, which was to photograph a waterfall that I haven't previously photographed. It may not have been the waterfall that I intended to photograph, but I'm walking away with a brand new image nonetheless. I'm going to be continuing up the hill now and back to the car. So thank you very kindly for watching, and hopefully I will see you again. Now, for the few of you that are still watching, let me share a little secret with you. In a couple of weeks, mid-May 2023, I'm going to be heading down to the Devon and Cornwall area to photograph a number of waterfalls that I've not previously visited. And on my journey back, which is going to be a long one, I'm going to be taking a break in the town of Glastonbury and meeting a couple of photographers. We're going to be walking up to Glastonbury Tor before walking back down to the town centre. It's going to be on the 13th of May. And if you're interested in joining us for a walk, drop me an email and I'll let you know the finer details. It's just going to be a basic walk, this one. It's not a workshop, it's not anything paid for. It's just a couple of mates enjoying a common interest. As always, again, thank you for watching and I'll see you again. Goodbye.